Hello, dear students, listeners. Welcome to all of you. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the first video of mine on penology, that is lecture 1, and of course, for your valuable comments. It indeed motivates me. So, here I am again with the second lecture on penology. I, Dr. Vibha Sharma, Associate Professor, Government Law College, Ajmer, will be sharing some information on the relationship between penology and criminology and definition of punishment in this video. Okay, so before starting with the relationship between criminology and penology as such, let me also share a particular aspect of this area, and that is that actually there has been a debate as to whether penology and correction should be included in the discipline of criminology, because according to some criminologists, Marvin E. Wolfgang being the proponent of this thought, which holds that penology and correction are fit subjects for criminology only if scientific methods involving studies, predictions, and experiments are employed in these areas. So according to him, pure issues of practice and administration relating to penology and correction are not included in the field of criminology. However, there are other criminologists also who advocate the inclusion of a wider field in criminology. And one of them is Sutherland, who regards the subject as the body of knowledge encompassing the processes of making laws, of breaking laws, and of reacting toward the breaking of laws. So we already have seen that criminology is one of the branches of criminal science which is concerned with social study of crimes and criminal behavior. It aims at discovering the causes of criminality and effective measures to combat crimes. So now, for the sake of convenience, I have actually used this particular table which clarifies to us the relationship between criminology and penology. As you can see, there are three branches of criminal science. One is criminology, which further bifurcates itself into two parts. One is criminal biology, which investigates into various causes of criminality, and criminal sociology, which inquires into the effect of surroundings and environment on criminals. And then we have the second part of criminal science, which we know as penology, which includes study of custody, treatment, prevention, and control of crime. And then we have criminal law, which actually seeks to implement policies envisaged by criminology and penology. Okay? So the policies which actually are formulated by criminology and penology are implemented by the administrators of criminal law. Now moving further, it is generally said that criminal law is an index of civilization because it is sensitive to the changes in social structure and reflects mental fiber of a given society. So this is why Professor Friedman calls it a barometer of moral thinking. And therefore, criminologists are thus confronted with three major problems, and they are: one, what conducts should be forbidden, and an inquiry into the effect of environment on these conducts; two, what condemnation is appropriate in such cases; and three, what kinds of sanctions are best to prevent these conducts. So therefore, it is evident that criminology and penology, together with criminal law, are actually interrelated, and one cannot really function without the other. As we have already seen, the formulation of criminal policy essentially depends on crime causation and factors correlated therewith, while its implementation is achieved through the instrumentality of criminal law, right? So we already know, and which has also been rightly observed by Professor Sellen, that the object of criminology is to study the sequence of lawmaking, lawbreaking, and reaction to lawbreaking from the point of view of the efficacy of law as a method of control, as was held by Sutherland. Now we come to Taft, who, as I hope you remember, I told you that he is a pioneer criminologist of his times. According to him, criminology is the scientific analysis and observation of crime and criminals, whereas penology is concerned with the treatment of offenders. So we can see the interrelation between the two. Now, in Taft's view, the development of criminology has been later than that of penology because in early periods, the emphasis was on treatment of offenders rather than scientific investigation into the causation of crime. I really hope that you remember the earlier stories that we heard about punishment and how the punishment used to be inflicted on the offenders. So the treatment of offenders was given more primacy rather than this investigation into the causation of crime. Okay? Then we already know that penology or study of criminal punishment is a subfield of criminology because it concerns itself with the various aspects of punishment and penal policies. So we already are very well aware that the various mechanisms of punishing the offenders are studied under penology, and therefore criminology and penology are very much interrelated. So coming to the definition of punishment, we know that the term has not been defined in the Indian Penal Code of 1860. But anyhow, we would try to figure out as to what we mean when we use the term punishment. According to Oxford Dictionary, punishment means to make an offender suffer for an offense. Bhargav's Standard Illustrated Dictionary of English Language says that it means pain inflicted by authority on a person for crime. The New Encyclopedia Britannica puts it thus: the simple meaning of punishment is the infliction of some kind of pain or loss upon a person for a misdeed. So we can say in a way that punishment is the means of social control. Now coming to the criminologists who have defined punishment, Taft has defined it as the conscious infliction upon a disturbing individual of undesired experiences solely in the interest of his welfare. And Ferry says punishment is a legal deterrent. Dr. M.J. Saitna says it is some sort of social censure and not necessarily involving physical pain or infliction of physical pain. And then, according to Westermarck, punishment is limited to such suffering as is inflicted upon the offender in a definite way by or in the name of the society of which he is a permanent or temporary member. Dr. Walter Reckless, in considering the meaning of punishment, says it is the redress that the Commonwealth takes against an offending member. Sutherland puts it in two ways. One, is that the punishment is inflicted by the group in its corporate capacity upon one who is regarded as the member of the same group. And secondly, punishment involves pain or suffering produced by design and justified by some value that the suffering is assumed to have. So we can say that punishment is the penalties imposed by the state on individuals who violate the criminal law. And we are very much clear that the state punishes the individuals to achieve revenge against wrongdoers and to prevent further crime, both by the person punished and by others contemplating criminal behavior. Now we'll just consider one more definition which actually puts it very comprehensively, and that is by H.L.A. Hart, who, with Mr. Bean and Professor Flew, has defined punishment in terms of 5 elements. 1. That it must involve pain or other consequences normally considered unpleasant. 2. It must be for an offense against legal rules. 3. It must be to an actual or supposed offender for his offense. 4. It must be intentional, administered by human beings other than the offender. And 5th, it must be imposed and administered by an authority constituted by a legal system against which the offense is committed. So we know it that people who commit crimes may be punished in a variety of ways. They may be subjected to fines or other monetary assessments, infliction of physical pain, corporeal punishment, confinement in jail, term in the prison, incarceration, etc., or even death sentence, that is capital punishment. So these particular forms of punishment, definitely we will know more about them in detail after this particular video. However, we are also to know that there are some modern forms of criminal punishment which reflect the philosophy of correction rather than or in addition to one of penalty. Correctional programs are arranged or they are an attempt to teach the offenders how to substitute lawful types of behavior for unlawful actions. Okay? Criminal law prohibits behavior deemed harmful to the society as a whole, and we are very well aware of that, whereas civil law governs private interactions between individuals. So here we have to definitely differentiate between the moral punishments and the legal punishments. We should be very clear that here we are concerned with the legal punishment only and not with the punishment which is given in self-defense or any punishment inflicted by the teacher to their pupils or by parent or guardian to their ward, because all those come into the category of moral punishment. Now, one last aspect, and that is about Sir Walter Moberly, and he actually just suggests quite a few things where he says that punishment presupposes that what is inflicted is an ill, that is, which is something unpleasant, and also that punishment actually is a sequel to some act which is disapproved by authority. And he also points out that there has to be some correspondence between the punishment and the act which has evoked it. Okay? So, hope by now the relationship between criminology and penology is clear to all of you. and also the definition of punishment. In my next video, I would be dealing with the theories of punishment. So I really hope that all the things are clear as far as this video is concerned. In case you have any queries or any doubts, please, you can always reach out to me, you know that. And thank you so very much for listening to this video also. And God bless you all the very best to all of you. Take very good care of yourselves. Bye.